Well, what a day that was. At the end of the saga, uh, pretty much the same story, though we'll get to some tweaks. Brusdar Graterol on his way out, Kenta Maeda on his way in. Let's unpack that. What's up? This is Tom Froming from twinsdaily.com. And I recorded a video when the initial news of this trade that evolved so much over the past few days broke. I was a little disappointed that Brusdar Graterol was being traded and Kenta Maeda was the only guy coming back. In fact, when the news was breaking on Twitter, this is what I sent out. I refused to believe that that was all that it was. So it's interesting that it turns out there is a little bit more now that it's changed. The story's changed from Graterol's not going to Boston. He's going to L.A. So here is the full breakdown of the trade as we know it right now on Sunday evening. The Twins are receiving Kenta Maeda, $10 million, and a low-level prospect. We don't know who that is yet. According to multiple reports, that prospect's being included. And the Dodgers get Graterol, Luke Raley, who I like quite a bit, but honestly, he was about the definition of an extra guy in the Twins system. And the number 67 overall pick in the 2020 draft. That was a competitive balance pick. So not to say that it is worthless. No, by all means, no. That pick has value, but that was a pick the Twins essentially got for free for being a competitive balance, a team that basically accepts revenue sharing, a bottom portion of the league. This is a little bit more interesting to me, especially depending on who the low-level prospect is, than just Maeda for Graterol straight up. Because that $10 million, let's jump over to Twins Daily in an article that Jeremy Nygaard wrote. Jeremy's a kind of contracts and service time and roster moves specialist, and he broke this down. Kenta Maeda's contract is very odd, but as Jeremy points out at the end of this article, even if Maeda has an average by his standards year, he'll make nearly 30 starts, throw on 170 innings, and trigger incentives that will earn him nearly $10 million. So that means basically the Twins are getting Kenta Maeda, and the Dodgers are going to kick in, oh, we're going to pay for him for you this year too. I know a lot of Twins fans get annoyed when any kind of a monetary conversation comes up at all. So I don't know if I want to spend too much time on that, but $10 million is $10 million. That changes the conversation to some degree, at least, depending how you feel. But I put it in that terms today. We can say that the Dodgers are essentially sending Kenta Maeda and paying his salary for 2020. If you want to think of it a different way, that they're sending the Twins Kenta Maeda and $10 million to apply potentially to a trade deadline acquisition. However you want to look at it, I mean, $10 million isn't anything to blink at. And we're yet to see the low-level prospect. Let's talk a little bit more about how I feel about Maeda and Graterol. I don't think there's a one-shot pitching stat, okay, just to make that clear. But I want to share this, that ERA minus, which is league and park adjusted, Kenta Maeda is a 96. That's barely better than Homer Bailey was last year. It's worse than Pineda, Barrios, Odorizzi, Rich Hill by quite a big margin. Just want to throw that out there that if you take a lot of these league and park adjusted stats, they don't look good in Kenta Maeda's favor. Another thing I want to mention is this is Kenta Maeda's career numbers. You can see he's been way better at Dodger Stadium than he's been on the road. Now, I brought this up on Twitter, and Matthew Trueblood, who also writes for Twins Daily and Baseball Prospectus, whose opinion I value very much, and I will honestly say I trust his evaluation over my own in this current conversation. He says that's kind of noise, even over a 4-year span, which is shocking to me that this big of a gap over 4 years could be considered luck. But again, I'm going to roll with what Trueblood says. He says that's pretty much noise. So take that for what it's worth. Even though I think I'm probably a little bit less excited than about Kenta Maeda than a lot of people, I'm going to give this guy a lot of leash. This is a challenging situation for him. Being traded this close to spring training opening, going to a new team, going to a new league. There's a lot of adjustments to make and things to get accustomed to, a new manager, a new pitching coach, new catchers. So I'm not going to be, jumping down this guy's back if he starts off slow with the Twins. But a couple other things I want to point out. These are Eno Sarris's starting pitcher rankings. Sorry, Athletic, I'm giving away a preview, we'll call it. Don't look at anything else. Kenta Maeda was 54th. That was behind Jake Odorizzi. I don't know if him being traded is going to have him move up, because I suppose Maeda is going to probably be projected to throw more innings, which will help his value. But Alex Fast over at Pitcher List did a similar ranking. And again, you see here that Kenta Maeda is ranked behind Jake Odorizzi. And we can see here on Baseball Savant, it's funny. There's similar pictures to Kenta Maeda based on velocity and movement. Out of these top 5, you have Jake Odorizzi in 2018 and Jake Odorizzi in 2019. So it's just funny how they come up so close in those rankings. And then, oh, by the way, they're listed on the similarity score so closely. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. One other thing I want to mention that I don't think a lot of people agree with me right now, but I think Kenta Maeda is more likely to have injury concerns than Brusdar Graterol over the next 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. This is a guy who averaged 200 innings pitched for 7 seasons in Japan before he came to America, and the Dodgers have been treating him with kid gloves basically his entire tenure there, limiting his innings, transitioning him into the bullpen at the end of seasons and into the playoffs. And that's something too, is postseason numbers that people have been bouncing around that's almost exclusively out of the bullpen, keep in mind. So this guy's got a lot of innings on his arm. I think he has over 2,100 professional innings pitched. He's held up extremely well so far. So maybe there's something there. Maybe his just mechanics are good. He takes good care of himself. Who knows? And, at the end of the day, you're getting Maeda, again, that big chunk of money to cover this first season, essentially. And it's a 4-year commitment. I don't know that I'm super excited to have him for his age, 32 through 35 seasons or whatever. But it's such a minimal overall commitment. I think he's only guaranteed around $3 million a season. So very little disaster potential in Kenta Maeda's contract. And I think that's something that probably appealed to the Twins as they're trying to sort of lock in cost certainty and things like that. But again, I thought the Twins were already the AL Central favorites before this trade. So really anything beyond that, I'm wanting to push them more likely into advancing in the postseason. I'm not super sure that Maeda does a whole lot for me in that regard, is sort of my reaction to Kenta Maeda. And now Brusdar Graterol, I think they traded him at his absolute lowest value. It's out. Obviously, nobody can tell the future. I don't know the medicals that the Twins have, but apparently the Dodgers didn't seem too concerned about it. Obviously, Boston seemed to have some problems, but when you transition a guy into you come out and you say that we're going to have this guy in the bullpen and he's had injury history. I just think it would have been interesting if they would have rolled him out and have had him be a starter for one more year. They didn't really need him in the bullpen this year. The Twins bullpen should be good without Brusdar Graterol. So they didn't need him to be a reliever in 2020. Why not give him another shot to start? And either A, you're going to end up with a guy who could be a very exciting starting pitcher in your 2021 rotation, or B, a really hot trade piece for the July 31st trade deadline. If you have Graterol, you're showing teams, look at this guy's starting, he's healthy. What kind of a piece could you get back? I would imagine something a lot more exciting than Kenta Maeda. No disrespect to Maeda. So that's the thing I want to stress, is that I'm not anti Kenta Maeda at all. I think he slots in behind Jake Odorizzi, or at least is sort of the 2B to Jake Odorizzi's 2A. So I don't think he pushes the rotation too much further ahead. And Brusdar Graterol, I don't necessarily agree with people evaluating him as a relief pitcher. I think that was more of a win now move if the Twins were going to put him in the bullpen, which is fine. But it would have been really interesting to see if Graterol would have went to a team that was rebuilding, or even gone to Boston, and to see if they would have treated him as a starter and how that went. I'm assuming if LA keeps him, that he's going to pitch in their bullpen. And the other thing about Graterol is just that in general, you can take him out and just say pitching instead of hitting. The Twins lineup is stacked, and there's so many of the guys that are going to be around for multiple years. The Twins have a bunch of good hitting prospects, and this is an organization always in need of pitching. So it would have been great to get Maeda for a hitter, a hitting prospect. Or it would have been interesting to see the Twins package Graterol with maybe Kirilloff or Larnach and aim even higher at a bigger starting pitcher. So that's all I'm saying there. But the other thing that is curious about this deal is that, that Betts deal fell apart and then it still happened. But then it seemed like both the Twins and the Dodgers were extremely motivated to trade both of the guys who are headlining this deal. And I think you can come away with a bit of a interesting perspective on both of them and think, well, why were the Twins so motivated to get rid of Brusdar Graterol? Why were the Dodgers so motivated in getting rid of Kenta Maeda? Now, they had a bit of a roster crunch, but something they could have done was just had Kenta Maeda be a reliever, and they would have only had to pay him that $3 million because all of his incentives were based on starts and innings pitched. Now, he probably would have not been happy with that and maybe would have caused some clubhouse concerns at that point. But it's just something interesting to think about. Let's finish this off by jumping back over to Maeda's Baseball Savant page and just pulling up the sliders. This is just this is like my favorite little snapshotty thing. These rankings. There's so much information in this little graph. As you can see, Maeda is a contact wizard. He does an amazing job limiting hard contact exit velocity. His ex-WOBA is excellent because guys just don't hit the ball hard off of him. So that's legit. And the thing I want to be clear about, and I think people missed out on Twitter and on my original video, yes, I definitely think Kenta Maeda is an upgrade for the Twins. I want to make that super clear. Just because I'm not going over the moon like some people are about him, doesn't mean I don't think he's an upgrade. I personally probably would have managed the situation a little bit differently. Maybe tried, if they were going to get him, tried to have traded a bat for him. If LA had any interest, maybe they didn't. And then also, if I was to trade Graterol, try to maybe package him with another bat to get an even better starting pitcher. But at no point did I think this trade was a disaster. I didn't think Graterol from Maeda straight up was going to be a disaster. So you throw in the $10 million, we'll find out who the other guy is. Losing Luke Raley really doesn't hurt. And the draft pick has value, but where the Twins are at, that's exactly the kind of thing they should be willing to let go of is a draft pick. Losing out on the number 67 overall pick, obviously that gives you a tremendous chance to draft a potentially good player for your system, but you can do that in the third round, fourth round, fifth round, etc. I think that's the Luke Raley and the draft pick are the exact kind of assets the Twins can afford to get rid of. So very interesting trade. That's what I'll say. It was really fun to follow and still following. Obviously, I should point out that this is all still pending physicals, and we know now how that might go. But it sounds like the Dodgers have a lot more familiarity with Graterol. Yeah, so hopefully I'm not shooting another video in a few days talking about the same thing. But let me know what you think about Maeda. What are you excited about bringing him in? And how you feel overall about the trade. And thanks for checking this out. This has been Tom Froming from Twins Daily. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. Please consider subscribing.